Hi everybody, welcome to EmilyKayTV. Today we're going to be talking about a subject that is difficult for me to talk about, that I don't enjoy talking about, but I also think is important to talk about. So when I came back to this channel and decided I really wanted to start making YouTube videos again, I realized that one of the main things that had been holding me back from making videos was my disability. Not just because obviously there are going to be multiple days where I'm put out of commission, but on top of that, my life is not very well put together, we'll say. And as somebody who is almost 30, that's kind of embarrassing because you think that once you get out of high school, you're gonna figure your whole life out like all at once, and then everything is gonna be fine and dandy and you'll follow down this path for the rest of your life and everything's gonna go perfectly well. But that doesn't happen for everybody, unfortunately. You know, having a house that's kind of disheveled, responsibilities that you ignore, things that are serious that you don't prioritize. It's embarrassing because I feel like I'm an adult and I should have all this figured out, but life has thrown me some curveballs. And I know, like logically, I know I'm not alone in these struggles. There are plenty of other people out there that are dealing with some of the same things that I am when it comes to embarrassment. I feel like it's really important to talk about this kind of stuff so that everybody can see you're not alone. Right, Sophie? He agrees. So today we're going to talk about my disability. I don't want my less than perfect life to hold me back from doing things that I enjoy, and being a YouTuber, I enjoy doing this and I want to keep making videos despite the fact that my life isn't perfect. Here's an example. Here's a bunch of sheet music, which it's not as big of a pile as it has been in the past. But this is basically my grandma's entire music collection. She was a music teacher. She's still alive, but she was a music teacher for a very long time. She's been retired for a while now, and finally just got around to clearing out her music room and getting rid of stuff she doesn't want. And so I've been tasked with selling music on eBay, which I am working on, but I also can't do it all the time. So here's my pile of music. So let's talk about my disability. Ta-da! It's a serious topic, but it's also something that is a huge part of my life, and I'll probably go crazy or more crazy if I don't make jokes about it. So when I make jokes, just know I'm not saying that this kind of stuff isn't serious. It's my stuff. So I'm gonna make jokes about it because that's just how I deal with things. So here's the story of my disability. From a young age, my parents can tell you, I have always overheated really easily. I would go outside and my face would be bright red, not sunburnt, but just so hot, overheating red all the time. And there have been multiple occasions playing softball specifically, because my dad was my coach, so he remembers this kind of stuff too, where I overheated to the point where I got close to passing out and had multiple heat strokes. I also, when I was in high school, used to work as a lifeguard at my city pool during the summers. I was basically having a heat stroke every single time that I worked, and I didn't realize it because I didn't know what was happening. I thought that the stuff that I was experiencing was normal, and it wasn't until my friend Kyle let me know that that isn't normal. There was one day when he also worked at the pool with me, and we were leaving the pool and he was like, hey, do you want to come over and play something? And I was like, no, I gotta go lay down, my head is killing me, etc. And he's like, what, why? And I was like, you don't feel like you're gonna like actually die after you work? Like, I feel awful every single time that we work. And he's like, that shouldn't be happening. And I now know that I was having heat strokes. And that was about the time when I got my first diagnosis, which was simply anhidrosis, which means you don't sweat. You may have heard of hyperhidrosis, which is people who sweat way too much and they'll get like Botox in their armpits and stuff like that to sir. Anyway, they'll get like Botox in their armpits so that they don't sweat as much. I have anhidrosis, which is I don't sweat enough. Sometimes not at all, sometimes a lot less than what you should be sweating. And there were also a lot of times in high school where I was fainting a lot or just having like random out of the blue fainting spells, and nobody could really figure out why. And my family doctor basically told me sometimes people just pass out a lot and we don't really know why, but I got no diagnosis out of that, and nobody knew why I wasn't sweating correctly. They were just like, you have anhidrosis, we don't know why. Early on, I knew that I was a little odd. I knew things were weird with me, but I didn't know why. And so I felt awkward like trying to explain like, hey, like I can't do this. God, and the fainting thing was so embarrassing. A lot of the reason why I stay in the house isn't even just because like I'm afraid that I'm gonna get hurt, which is a valid concern, but it's just so embarrassing when it happens. Ugh. Like I have a wheelchair, so technically I could go like shopping and like do other stuff by myself with my wheelchair, but it's not a custom made one. It's one of those big clunky hospital ones that I'm just using until eventually one day I can save up to get a legit wheelchair made custom for me, so it sucks to carry around on your own. That's also embarrassing because even if I were to pass out and I would be in the wheelchair so I wouldn't get hurt as bad, like being around people and just like fainting. And I remember this one time I fainted in the middle of a show choir practice, and I was so embarrassed. And literally most of the show choir was my friend. And I just like in the middle of one of the songs, I just suddenly like passed out on the risers, and the choir director's wife was there thankfully because she was a nurse. And so she helped me. She took me to the bathroom and like, because it was a dress rehearsal day. So I had to like get out of my costume and like get back into my regular comfy clothes. And so she took me to the bathroom and helped me do all that and like made sure like I wasn't like really hurt. I remember being in the bathroom with her and just like crying, not because I was hurt, but because I was so embarrassed that I just fell in front of my entire show choir. And everybody was so nice about it too. Like nobody was like, oh my god, she fell, what a loser. Like everybody was like, oh my god, are you okay? And I'm like, stop looking at me. So that's early life. Growing up, I was like, things are weird with my body. I don't know what. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. So I just continued living my life being like, weird things are happening, but my doctor doesn't know what's up. So my life continued pretty normally. I graduated high school, and then afterwards I tried going to college, but I had a lot of issues there too, where I was getting constant migraines. That's not helpful. It's really hard to study when like turning on the light in your room makes you want to kill yourself. I'm not even like making a joke out of suicide. Like I was just trying so hard to be an adult out of high school, to go to college, to work, to make money, save up money, to move out eventually. And I was just constantly having these terrible migraines that would put me in such a state that I was like considering that it might be easier to just end it. I'm glad I didn't. You don't really understand how your physical health can affect your mental health and vice versa until you're dealing with serious stuff with your health. They are very much connected, and if one is out of whack, the other one is going to have issues as well. I was frustrated. I was in pain all the time. I hate calling into work. I hate missing class. And the more class that I missed and the farther behind I got, the more embarrassed that I would get and the less that I wanted to go to the next class. And then I started having anxiety attacks. So even when I wasn't having migraines, I was having anxiety attacks because I was like, I wasn't at the last two classes and now I'm just going to show up. Everyone's going to look at me and think I'm weird because I was at a community college, so it was small classes. And eventually I ended up leaving college. I do plan on going back one day. But when I do go back, I want to make sure that I am able to do my classes and not end up in the same boat as before. and my life continued. I met Trey. We ended up moving in together in 2017, and we bought a house, which is this house that I am living in right now. And we had all these plans to like renovate it and then, you know, maybe go off on an adventure and like move somewhere else, like really far away, and like experience life outside of Iowa. Like we had all these plans. But in 2018 is when things started getting really bad for my health. In like May of 2018, I had my first seizure. And that was probably the scariest night of my life. I don't really remember a lot of it because your brain kind of blacks out when that's happening. But I remember laying down and going to bed, and then the next thing I know, I'm like in Trey's car driving, and I'm like, I felt like I was in a dream. Like everything felt hazy, like I didn't remember anything, like nothing felt real. I felt so tired. Like I can't even really describe how tired I felt. It's not like any other tired that I've ever felt in my life. Like I just felt like all of my life force was like drained from me. And I also, once I started to kind of come out of that haze, I was like, I'm being kidnapped. Which is the funny part of it, because I went to bed and now I'm in a car feeling like I had been drugged, and I'm like, I'm being kidnapped. And I like start like, when I start coming out of it, I'm like, and I like look over at Trey and I'm like, okay, so Trey is here, so I'm either not being kidnapped or I'm being kidnapped by Trey, which doesn't seem likely because we live together, so he doesn't really need to kidnap me. But, you know, and he was taking me to the emergency room because I had started seizing in bed and he didn't know what to do. I never had this happen before. And at the emergency room, they asked me what happened, and I was like, girl, I don't know. Trey explained what he saw and what I had been doing, and he described the way that I was convulsing, and I did not like that description. Hi. Okay. Oh, yeah? Uh-huh. I don't know why I'm replying to her. She can't hear me. Nope. Oh, there we go. After that first seizure, we were basically told, go to your primary care doctor and tell us if you have more of those. And I did indeed have more of those, and so I ended up going to see a neurologist. And when I told her everything that I've been dealing with, also at this time my heart rate was like high all the time, and I had recently gotten an Apple Watch, and my Apple Watch kept telling me like, hey, your heart rate is pretty high and you are not doing anything, like, just so you know. So I told my neurologist that. I was like, I don't know if that has anything to do with the seizures or whatever. And she was like, you know, with all of the symptoms that you have been telling me, you might have POTS. And I was like, I have no idea what that is. And so she did a tilt table test, which is where they have this fancy table that tilts you up and down and all around, and they measure your heart rate, and my heart rate was spiking every time that I was up. So that started a whole thing. I now know that my fainting spells throughout my life and my anhidrosis and all that other stuff was likely caused by POTS. So let me lay down for you what POTS is, okay? POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So basically, that means you stand up, heart goes fast. But POTS is also under the dysautonomia umbrella, which basically means your automatic functions in your body don't work. So things that your body does that you do not have to consciously think about, like your heart beating, or your lungs breathing, or your blood pumping, or your brain working, and your nervous system nervousing, and your GI digesting, and all that good stuff. Yeah, your body doesn't want to do any of that. With POTS, the main thing that I'm struggling with is, the heart rate. That's like the main focus. That's the main concern. However, I do have to deal with the rest of my automatic functions not automatically functioning. But as scary as the seizures were, the seizures did lead to me being diagnosed with POTS, having answers for questions that I had my whole life, and getting medication that actually aided in those problems that I had been told before in my life there was nothing we could do about them because people didn't really know about POTS before. It's relatively new coming into the mainstream. And I think especially with the pandemic, I was diagnosed before the pandemic, like 2018 or 2019 is when I got diagnosed with POTS. But a lot of people after having COVID are now developing symptoms of POTS. I don't know if we know why that happens. I'm not a scientist. I just am in the community, so I kind of know what's going on. But yeah, that's a whole thing on its own, where COVID kind of created some POTSies, as we call ourselves, and yeah. So I think more and more people are knowing about this disease or syndrome, and the more the people are aware of it, the more that people who have been struggling their whole lives like me get diagnosed because they know it exists now, and also more people want to research it and maybe find a cure for it. That would be cool. That is basically the entire story of my life growing up and getting diagnosed. Let's move on to how I'm doing now in the present day. Life is still a struggle because I still haven't been able to go back to working or going back to school. I think we've all heard the expression that money can't buy happiness, and I think a lot of us know that that's kind of BS. Maybe it can't buy me happiness, but it can buy me safety, it can buy me security, it can buy me peace of mind. For the past 5 years, Trey has had to fully support me while paying for a mortgage and all that good stuff that he's paying for while I chill at home in pain. And on top of him, you know, having to work all the time to make it so that we don't lose our house, he also has to help me out on my hard days. So he'll work like a full shift and then come home and then be my caretaker, which sucks, and I hate having to, you know, have him do that. When your body is so irregular and so unpredictable, it's difficult to do what you want to do. Like, neither of us deserve this, but like, Trey isn't my dad, you know? Like, none of this was happening when him and I first met. And even though all of this started happening after we had like bought a house together, after we had only been living together for a year, never once has he ever made me feel like I was a burden, even when I made myself feel like a burden. Never once has he complained, never once has he gotten mad at me, never once has he ever tried to make me feel bad for being disabled, and he's always stuck by my side this whole time, and I really don't think I could have gotten any luckier. Even my grandma likes him, and that's really all I need in a man. I've had some bad experiences with people not really believing my illness and getting annoyed with me for being disabled, as if it's something that I'm doing on purpose, or even making fun of me for being disabled. As of today, the things that I still struggle with the most are definitely fainting spells and migraines. I cannot keep a job. And I've tried multiple different jobs, and it's just not possible. One of the biggest things that you need to be as an employee, especially when you're working like minimum wage type of jobs, is you need to be reliable, you need to be available. And when I can have any day where I wake up and can't move, can't speak, can't be a human being, I can't be reliable, because I never know if I'm able to keep appointments and keep a schedule, which sucks because mentally, I really need to stick to a schedule. I love having schedules that I can follow, but I can't follow them anymore. Like the Chicago trip, like leading up to it, I was so stressed. I had so much anxiety that I was gonna wake up the day that we were supposed to leave and I would like feel terrible, and we would like miss the whole trip even though we already paid for everything, and the ticket, my parents paid for the tickets in the hotel. Like that's always, like, even if it's something really fun that I really want to go to, there's been plenty of times where I've missed like once in a lifetime events that I can never go back and redo because of my illness. And it sucks. You are missing parts of life that will never be available again. Even on our Chicago trip, in the video I showed all of the fun stuff that we did, but what I didn't show was all of the times that I needed to sit down and take a break, all of the times that I was close to overheating or like feeling very faint, all of the places that we planned to go to that we didn't end up going to because I just wasn't feeling okay enough. There are even parts during the Twice concert where I had to sit down, and that wasn't in the video. So even stuff like that, like when I go out and I do have fun, there's some times where I gotta sit and not have fun. But I have not had a seizure in a very long time. I'm always terrified that I'm gonna have another seizure at any moment, but I'm on seizure medication that I take every day, and the pills are gigantic. I already took my morning pills. Let me show you. This is the one for my night meds. Dude, look at this! Yeah, so this is, I've already taken my morning meds, but this is basically what every day looks like for me. We've got morning, noon, evening, and night. But I still, every single day, deal with chronic, widespread pain, migraines, neurological crap that is probably caused by my migraines. There's a lot of mystery involved in neurology. A lot of times I'll show up to my neurologist and be like, hey, so these things are happening, and she's like, that might be part of your migraines. Don't really know. And I also have, this is my little buddy, but this is Imitrex nasal spray. And this, I have a love-hate relationship with, because when I'm having a god-awful migraine that has been going on for like days, and none of my normal, I have a whole pharmacy over there, none of my normal like migraine meds will do anything. Like I'm wearing my migraine hat, which I want to show you guys that too. Wait, okay, this is my migraine hat. Ooh. You've got all these ice packs. Yeah, looking hot. And you do this. So no light, no sound. There's ice cooling all of the parts that hurt. And you just sit here looking like an alien. Yeah, it's very helpful. It looks crazy. And it kind of is, but it is very helpful. But when all of that stuff isn't working, we've got this, my emergency nasal spray. This has one in it. So you pull it out of here, out of the package, you shove it up in your nose, and then you click this in and it shoots the medicine into your nostrils. And dude, usually this works. There are some really bad migraines that I've had where it has not worked. Usually that'll break me out of it. But it tastes so bad. And like, I know what you're gonna say, if you're tasting, you're wasting. I know, I try to spray it the correct way, but even when I spray it exactly how you're supposed to, I can still taste even just a tiny bit going down my throat, and I want to throw up for years. Like, it is so, I hate the taste. I hate it. But when Trey, being my nurse, he's not a nurse, he'll be like, hey, I think it's bad enough that you need to take the nasal spray, and my brain remembers how that tastes, and it's like in full, like, I'm not in control, like the migraine is in control. So I'm just like, no, I can't do it. And Trey's like, you'll feel better. And I'm like, yeah, but at what cost? My brain can't like weigh the scales and be like, yeah, this is worth it. So I've got fainting still sometimes, seizures not very often, migraines a lot, neurological problems that are probably related to the migraine stuff a lot, body pain every day of my life. And that's how my life is right now. So jobs and schooling, not really in the cards for me at the moment, but I'm not giving up on that dream. My grandma, she graduated college at 57 years old. You know, I basically do whatever I want is what I'm learning. That's the thing that you learn in your 20s, I think, is you can do whatever you want. Like, really, truly. Like, you should try to make good choices, but you don't have to. There will be consequences for your actions, but you can still have those actions if you want. If you want to go to jail, kill someone. I don't recommend doing that, but it is an option. That's what I'm trying to say, is you can do whatever you want. Which can be bad, but it can also be good and freeing. I saw my friends graduating college and I was like, I'm a failure, but now I'm older and I'm like, it doesn't matter. Even if I got my degree, I would still be disabled and unable to do the work that I was getting my degree for. I was going to school to be a teacher. I cannot... And my body will not allow me to do the things that are physically required of you if you are a teacher. So even if I got the degree, where would I be now? Still disabled and with a lot more student debt. So I would much rather wait until I can do the job that I'm going to school for instead of having a degree and then like taking many years off, and then when I go to that job eventually, I'm like, I don't remember anything that I learned in college. You know what I mean? I guess the point that I want to make with this whole video is growing up, especially when you are in high school, you kind of feel like your life is on a track, like a train track. It's something that you follow, something that you cannot change, something that you already have laid out for you. But when you grow up, you kind of realize that that's not how life works. There is no track. There is no train. There's just you and wide open fields. And you can go whatever direction you want. You can go backwards, forwards, make very bad choices, make very good choices. You don't have to graduate college, get married, pop out babies if that's not your path. If it is, that's fine. I have plenty of friends who have followed that path and they're doing amazing and they love their lives and they love their kids. And I'm very happy for them. But I also have me, who has not done any of that, who dreams of being a mom one day, but doesn't know if she'll ever be financially or physically able to do that. Because I don't want to bring a kid into this world and not be able to take care of them the best that I can. I have plenty of friends who never even tried to go to college. I have plenty of friends who were like me and tried and then decided it wasn't for them and found a different path in life. There's not a single one of them that I look at and think, what are you doing? Never have I looked at one of those people and been like, you're doing this wrong. Because every time that I see somebody in my life or somebody that was a part of my life at one point make a decision and like announce it on Facebook, I never am like, oh my god, why would they do that? I'm always super excited and super happy that they are doing what they want to do. I guess growing up is also realizing that there's a lot more people that are kind like me than there are people that are judging you. The majority of human beings are kind and understanding and have gone through their own BS that has derailed their life. Nobody has a perfect life, and that's okay. Every day I live with my disability. Every day I learn to love myself a little bit more, not just despite my disability, but because of my disability. I don't want people to ever say, oh, she accomplished this even though she's disabled. I want people to say she accomplished this and she's disabled. Because my disability doesn't necessarily define me, but it's also a huge part of me. It's a descriptor that I took a long time to come to terms with, because I had this feeling in my mind that if I didn't say that I was disabled, that it wouldn't be real and it would go away. But I feel so much more free being able to say I'm disabled. It changed everything about my life. Every single aspect of my life is infected by the reality that I am disabled, and the more that I tried to avoid that, the harder it was to live my life. But the more that I accept that descriptor, the easier it is to live my life, because I'm able to ask for accommodations more and feel less guilty about canceling plans and feeling sick. Like, I still feel sad. My disability is not my fault. There's a long time where I wondered if it was, but it's not. There's nothing I can do about it, so there's really just no point in fighting it. But on this YouTube channel, I pledge to not hide the bad stuff, because there really isn't bad stuff or good stuff, there's just stuff. And I really feel like I would be doing a disservice to the world to be just another YouTuber who sits in front of my camera and pretends like my life is perfect. I'm trying to make my life better at every chance that I get, but it's never going to be perfect. And that's fine. So if you need somebody who will talk to you and tell you, damn, I am struggling, here I am, welcome to my channel, you are gonna like it here. My videos are not all vlogs, are not all me sitting in front of the camera being serious. I do want to have talks like this from time to time. Like, I want to explain what it's been like for me in pageantry in a video, what it's been like renovating my house, a lot of other things. Shout out to all my disabled people. Sound off in the comments. Let's go, disabled gang. Thank you so much for being here and listening to my little TED Talk about being disabled, my story of, you know, all of my hardships in life. I hope that you gained something from my rambling, because none of this was scripted. I had an idea of what I wanted to talk about, but that was all from the heart, baby. And if you want to stick around, don't forget to like and subscribe. More of my links are in the description. Do whatever you want. Live your life. Be happy. Be sad. It's all allowed. It's all valid. It's all fine. Live your life the way that you want to live it. You are capable. You are capable, and I love you. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.